Well, Shana Tova, everyone.
Shana Tova.
It is truly a blessing to welcome all of you into the beauty, the coolness, and the comfort of our sanctuary here as we continue our commemoration of this Yom Kippur 5779. Of course, as we do so, we are very much aware of those throughout our own nation and throughout the world that don't have the comforts that we have on this Yom Kippur. Though our bodies may be hungry, our souls want for so much, there are still others who do not have the basics, and we are cognizant of those who lost so much this past week due to Hurricane Florence and the great monsoon Magsoor in China and in Hong Kong and throughout the Philippines. We are very much aware of those that still continue to live under the threat of violence and tremendous anti-Semitism. So as we look around, let us appreciate the blessings that we have been given and look to our prayers and our machzorim with a full heart of gratitude. We turn now in our machzors to page 292, as we also take this time to welcome those who are joining us over our live webcast. Whatever keeps them from our presence, they are actively participants with us this morning.
Shachar avakeshcha tzuri umiskavi iruch lifanecha shachri v'gam orbi lifnei gedulatecha imod v'yibail ki einecha tireh kol makshivut ליבי, מה זה שיכול הלב והלשון לעשות ומכוח רוחי בתוך קרבי. הנה לך תיטב זברות אנוש Alekin udicha be'otiyah nishmat Elohim.
Page 294. This is the day of our atonement. We would return to you as penitent children long to return to a loving parent. We confess our sins on this day, knowing that the gates of repentance are always open. Receive us with compassion and bless us, O God, with your forgiving love. We turn to page 303. We rise together at the bottom of the page for the Chatzi Kaddish.
Vit Gadol, Meir Rabba, V'alma divrach yirtei, V'yamlich malchutei, B'chayeichom l'yomeichom, Uv'chai d'chol beit Yisrael, B'hagalau v'zman karim, v'imera amin, yishmero b'mevorach, le'olam ul'olmei olmaya yivarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, V'yitpa'al, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitador, v'yitalal, shemid kudisha b'richu, le'ila min kol brachata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran v'yalma, v'imra, Baruch Hu, Et Adonai, HaMivorach, Baruch Adonai, HaMivorach, Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Adonai, HaMivorach, Le'olam Va'ed.
In the middle of page 306, we read together, O one and only God, you have made each of us unique and formed us to be united in one family of life. Be with us, Eternal One, as we seek to unite our lives with your power and your love. We proclaim now your oneness and our own hope for unity. We acclaim your creative power in the universe and in ourselves, the law that binds world to world and heart to heart.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
You may be seated as we continue chanting together.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך ובביתך ובלכתך בדרך ומשכבך ובחומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liod lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
In this world waiting to be redeemed, our hearts cry out, cannot our dearest hopes at last come true? Many are our defeats, and yet how many our deliverances. After servitude to Pharaoh, we chose service to God. After exile in Babylon, we rebuilt God's shrine. Yesterday's wounds, so nearly fatal, begin to heal, and Israel, living still, plants new seeds of redemption.
Let the time come when all the peoples will be joined in bonds that cannot break. The nations will yet be at peace. The earth will yield fruit. And all will sing with one accord. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nidor ba'kodesh, nurotino u'sefer. Shira chadasha, shibechu ge'ulim shimcha sfatayam, yachad kulam, udu v'himlich v'yamiru, Adonai bach le'olam va'ed. Tzur Yisrael, kum b'ezrat Yisrael, uvdeichnu mecha Yehuda v'Yisrael, golin Adonai tzva'ot shemo, kiddush Yisrael, baruch ata Adonai, ga'al Yisrael.
The bottom of page 308, we rise together for tefillah.
Tiftach ufi yagin tihilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohi Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohi Avraham, Elohi Yitzchak, v'Elohi Yaakov, Elohi Sarah, Elohi Rivka, Elohi Leah v'Elohi Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Kameh Chasadim Tovim, v'Koneh HaKol v'Zocher Chasdei Avot, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, u'meving geula livnei v'neihem, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לי חיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וחותמנו בספר החיים, למען חלויים חיים, מלך זר מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, וחיי הכל אתה להושיע, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים רופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, ישני עפר, בכמוך בגבורות, וביטול מלך, מלך מת מחיי, ומצמיח ישועה, מי כמוך אב הרחמים, זוכי צוריו לחיים רחמים, למען אתה לחיות הכול, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכול. Amen.
And you may all be seated. On page 311, we are introduced once again to the story of Rabbi Amnon of Mainz, who supposedly, as the tradition tells us, was given a choice to choose life and live or choose death. How is that choice to be made? Through his belief in a one God and his inability to choose an other God. And so, from time immemorial, this story has been included within our Yom Kippur liturgy to help us understand that there are some choices in life that are worth giving up life. It is this prayer of the Unatana Tokev that helps us to realize how precarious is our situation and how fortunate we are for each and every moment we are granted. Page 311. On Rosh Hashanah we reflect, and on Yom Kippur we consider who shall live for the sake of others and who dying shall leave a heritage of life.
Who shall burn in the fires of greed? Who shall drown in the waters of despair?
Who shall hunger? Whose hunger shall be for the good? And who shall thirst for justice and right?
Whose tongue shall be a thrusting sword? Whose word shall make for peace?
Who shall be plagued by fear of the world? And who shall strangle for lack of friends?
Who shall rest at the end of the day? Who lies sleepless on the bed of pain?
Who shall go forth in the quest for truth?
Who shall be locked in the prison of self?
Who shall be serene in every storm? Who shall be troubled by the passing breeze?
Who shall be poor in the midst of possessions? Who shall be rich content with their lot?
Repentance, prayer, and charity return these to our God.
Given the past, renewed for tomorrow, may we go forth with rejoicing to a year of Onetane tulkev kedushat hayom ki unara vi'ayom uvotinase malchutecha v'yikun b'chesed kisecha v'tishiv alom be'emet.
Let us proclaim the sacred power of this day. It is awesome and full of dread. For on this day your dominion is exalted, your throne established in steadfast love. There in truth you reign, and in truth you are, judge and arbiter, counsel and witness. You write and you seal, you record and recount. You remember deeds long forgotten. You open the book of our days, and what is written there proclaims itself. for it bears the signature of every human being.
Of shofar gadol itaka v'kudim ma'ataka yishamau u'malachim yichafezun v'chil or'ado yochezun v'yumru hiyum haydin livkuras v'marromadin ki lo yizku v'necha badin v'chol hiyulam yavru lefanecha Kim nemarun, kim moikarat, roedro, mavir sunu, tachat shifto, keit avivatis vor vitimne, vitivkud nefesh kol chai, vitachtuch kitzbal chobri. V'tichtu v'tkiznar dinar.
The great shofar is sounded, the still small voice is heard. The angels, gripped by fear and trembling, declare in awe, "This is the day of judgment, for even the hosts of heaven are judged. As all who dwell on earth stand arrayed before you, as the shepherd seeks out the flock and makes the sheep pass under the staff, so do you muster and number and consider every soul, setting the bounds of every creature's life and decreeing its destiny."
B'rosh Hashanah yikativun, u'v'yom tzom Kippur yichatimun. B'rosh Hashanah yikativun, u'v'yom tzom Kippur yichatimun. Kamay avurun, v'chamay
On Rosh Hashanah it is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed. How many shall pass on, and how many shall come to be? Who shall live, and who shall die? Who shall see ripe age, and who shall not? Who shall perish by fire, and who by water?
B'rosh Hashanah yikativun, u'v'yom tzom Kippur yichatimun. Mi v'cherev, mi v'chaya, mi
By sword and who by beast?
u'mi v'tzama,
By hunger, and who by thirst?
u'mi v'magefa,
By earthquake, and who by plague? Who by strangling, and who by stoning?
B'rosh Hashanah yikatimu, u'v'yom tzom Kippur yichatimu. Mi yanuach u'mi yanuach,
Who shall be secure, and who shall be driven? Who shall be tranquil, and who shall be troubled? Who shall be poor, and who shall be rich? Who shall be humbled, and who exalted?
B'rosh Hashanah yikatimun, u'v'yom tzom Kippur yichatimun. B'rosh Hashanah yikatimun, u'v'yom tzom Kippur yichatimun. U'teshuvah, u'tefilah, u'tzedakah. Mavirin et roa agzira.
but repentance, prayer, and charity temper judgment's severe decree. This is your glory. You are slow to anger and ready to forgive. It is not the death of sinners you seek, but that they should turn from their ways and live. Until the last day you wait for them, welcoming them as soon as they turn to you.
You have created us and know what we are. We are but flesh and blood.
Our origin is dust, and dust is our end. Each of us is a shattered urn, grass that must wither, a flower that will fade, a shadow moving on, a cloud passing by, a particle of dust floating on the wind, a dream soon forgotten.
But you are the sovereign, the everlasting God.
We rise now for the Kedusha.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמה תשימו תביש במרום, ככתוב על יד אביך, וכרזל זבי אמן. קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ תירדו. אדירנו אדוני, אדוני למען שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו ומלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישבינו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש.
To all generations we will make known your greatness, and to all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Page 318. Baruch atah Adonai, HaMelech HaKadosh. Blessed is the Eternal One who rules in holiness. You may be seated.
We continue on the bottom of the page with Ya'aleh V'Yavo.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotinu, Ya'aleh v'Yavo, v'yizachem zichronenu, v'zichron kol amcha beit Yisrael lefanecha, l'tova, l'chei, l'chesed, l'rachamim, l'chaim, l'shalom, b'yom ha'kippurim hazeh, zachreinu Adonai Eloheinu l'tova. Amen. Ufaktiinu livracha. Amen. V'hoshiinu l'chayim. Amen.
Together we read, "We give thanks for the mitzvot, which hallow our days, and pray for wisdom to guide our lives by Torah. May our redemptive labors make us glad, our struggle for purity not fail, and our striving for good bring us joy. Blessed is the vision of holiness that exalts the house of Israel and the day of atonement."
Ritzi Adonai Eloheinu B'amecha Yisrael Tfilatam V'yahavot Yikabel U'tilratzon Tamid Avodat Yisrael Amecha Baruch atah Adonai she'otcha levadecha b'yira navon.
On the bottom of page 320, we read responsively, "Let us rejoice in the light of day, in the glory and warmth of the sun, in the reawakening of life to duty and labor.
We rejoice in the light of day.
In the earth with its hills and valleys, its widespread fields of grain, its fruit and hidden treasures.
We rejoice in the beauty of earth.
In the love of fathers and mothers who have nurtured our lives, with whose blessings we have come forth to our own work in the world.
We rejoice in the love of parents.
In the children who bless our homes, whose eager minds and hearts are the promise of tomorrow.
We rejoice in our children.
In friends who share our sorrows and joys, in the fullness of the abundant life, in the serenity of old age, and in the peace that comes at last.
We rejoice and shall rejoice forevermore." We continue with Sim Shalom on the top of page 322. Please join me.
Sim shalom, tova uvracha, hein v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael omecha, barchinu avinu kulanu ke'echad, bi'or panecha, ki bi'or panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael omecha, Torat chayim ve'ahavat chesed, u'tzedaka uvracha v'rachamim, v'chayim v'shalom. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael omecha, v'tuv b'yidecha livarich, et amcha Yisrael, b'chol עת ובושם, בשלומך. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל עמך, בסעיף חיים ברכה ושלום, ופרנסה טובה. ניזכר ונקוטים לפניך, אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל, וחיים טובים ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Inspiration for silent and private meditation can come from every hidden corner of our lives. Sometimes it comes from history. And on this Yom Kippur day of 5779, it is indeed a historic day. For 45 years ago, in 1973, a nation was not called to worship, but a nation was called up to war. It was the start of the Yom Kippur War in Israel. And those who were praying in their sanctuaries or sitting quietly in their homes received their call to service. There are many ways to serve. Some are called upon to help and support family life, others in their professional lives, and still others in their communal lives. It is the greatest ability to give back. And that is why today we not only have open our Sefer Chaim, our book of life, awaiting to see how all of us will serve, but we also have a book that was begun here just last year in gratitude to our temple community, known as the Sefer Avodah, those who serve, all of us. And so to share with us a bit of inspiration as we prepare to pause for silent prayer, I call upon John Wishnia.
Shana Tova. So as Rabbi had said, the book of service was dedicated by Stephanie Green and Karen Ehrenberg to former presidents. I'm looking for them, but there's too many faces in the crowd right now to find them both, so I apologize. It was dedicated using our gifts to be of service is the fullest expression of our lives. Each day, we find a multitude of ways to be useful. Whatever we may achieve, the quality of our own life comes from the quality of our contribution. First and foremost, we served our loved ones. We notice what others need, discover their wishes, and respond helpfully. We don't wait to be asked. A spirit of service invests whatever we do with excellence. We give our very best effort. People who want to be of service can change the world. And so today, on Yom Kippur, we dedicate into Temple Har Shalom's Book of Service our past presidents, who are all hopefully in attendance as I call your name. Ed Adler, Risa Drayson, Karen Ehrenberg, Jerry Flansbaum, Lou Friedman, Stephanie Green, Murray Howard, Michael Pressman, Mark Ruderman, Jessica Wang. We thank you all for your service. Your leadership is needed now as much as it was then, and so we thank you for all again that you've given us. Thank you.
We pause for just a few moments.
Use shalom bimramam, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Page 324, it is time for our vidui. For transgressions against God, the Day of Atonement atones. But for transgressions of one human being against another, the Day of Atonement does not atone until they have made peace with one another.
I hereby forgive all who have hurt me, all who have wronged me, whether deliberately or inadvertently, whether by word or by deed. May no one be punished on my account. As I forgive and pardon those who have wronged me, may those whom I have harmed forgive and pardon me, whether I acted deliberately or inadvertently, whether by word or by deed.
We rise together for the traditional words.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu, tovu lefanecha tefillatinu, v'hul titayam mitchinatinu. Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, tzadikim anachnu v'lo chataynu, aval anachnu chataynu.
Our God, God of our fathers and mothers, grant that our prayers may reach you. Do not be deaf to our pleas, for we are not so arrogant and stiff-necked as to say before you, our God and God of all ages, we are perfect and have not sinned. Rather do we confess, we have gone astray, we have sinned, we have transgressed. We remain standing as we partake either in the written words of silent confession or share our own private thoughts.
We continue with a Shamnu, page 327.
Who among us is righteous enough to say, I have not sinned? We are arrogant, brutal, careless, destructive, egocentric, false, greedy, heartless, insolent, and joyless. Our sins are an alphabet of woe. Now may it be your will, O God, and God of all generations, to pardon all our sins, to forgive all our wrongdoings, and to blot out our transgressions. For we sin against you and we sin against ourselves.
For failures of truth, O God, we ask forgiveness.
For passing judgment without knowledge of the facts.
And for distorting facts to fit our theories.
For deceiving ourselves and others with half-truths.
And for pretending to emotions we do not feel.
For using the sins of others to excuse our own.
And for denying responsibility for our own misfortunes.
For condemning in our children the faults we tolerate in ourselves.
And for condemning in our parents the faults we tolerate in ourselves.
We sin against you and we sin against ourselves.
For failures of justice, O God, we ask forgiveness.
For keeping the poor in the chains of poverty.
And turning the needy into the pride of the oppressed.
For using violence to maintain our power.
And for using violence to bring about change.
For waging aggressive war.
And for the sin of abusing aggressors.
For obeying criminal orders.
And for the sin of silence and indifference.
For poisoning the air and polluting land and sea.
And for all the evil means we employ to accomplish good ends.
We have sinned against you and we have sinned against ourselves.
For our failures of love, O God, we ask forgiveness.
For confusing love with lust.
And for pursuing fleeting pleasure at the cost of lasting hurt.
For using others as a means to gratify our desires.
And as stepping stones to further our ambitions.
For withholding love to control those we claim to love.
And shunting aside those whose youth or age disturbs us.
For hiding from others behind an armor of mistrust.
And for the cynicism that leads us to mistrust the reality of selfish love.
Teach us to forgive ourselves for all these sins, O forgiving God, and help us to overcome them.
Ve'al kulam ilo haslichot selach landu echal landu kaper landu al chit shechatanu lefanecha birchilu.
The sin we have committed against you by malicious gossip,
Al chit shechatanu lefanecha bigilui arayo.
and the sin we have committed against you by sexual immorality,
Ve'al chit shechatanu lefanecha b'ma'achal u'b'mishteh.
and the sin we have committed against you by gluttony, the sin we have committed against you by narrow-mindedness, the sin we have committed against you by fraud and falsehood, and the sin we have committed against you by hating without cause, the sin we have committed against you by our arrogance, and the sin we have committed against you by our insolence, and the sin we have committed against you by our irreverence, the sin we have committed against you by our hypocrisy, the sin we have committed against you by passing judgment on others, and the sin we have committed against you by exploiting the weak, the sin we have committed against you by giving and taking bribes, and the sin we have committed against you by giving way to our hostile impulses, and the sin we have committed against you by running to do evil. And you may be seated.
We
We
continue
turn
on.
now
I'm
to
sorry.
page 336.
We're ready to move on to that next page. Shema Kolenu. Shema, Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachim aleinu, v'kabel v'rachamim v'ratzon, tefillatenu, hashivenu Adonai, elecha lenashuva, Chadesh Yamenu, Chadesh Yamenu, Chadesh Yamenu, Yamenu Kekedem, Chadesh Yamenu, Chadesh Yamenu, Chadesh Yamenu Kekedem. Our God, God of all generations, may the sense of your presence never leave us. May it keep us ever faithful to your covenant. Make us responsive to your teaching, that we may walk in your ways. Fill ourselves with awe and our hearts with love, that we may return to you in truth and with all our being. Ki anu amecha v'atamaginu, anu vanecha v'atavinu, anu nachlatecha v'ataguralinu, anu tzonecha v'atarobinu,
Shana Tova again. As is our annual tradition, now's the time for our Kol Nidre appeal. Today's appeal, and I thank her very much in advance, will be given by Jill Friedland. Jill has been a member of this community in many, many senses for a number of years. She's been with us for at least 13 years. She wouldn't give me an exact number, I didn't press. So, Jill, thank you in advance, and I call you up now.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Rabbi, for inviting me to speak today. So again, my name is Jill Friedland, and I think some of you know me, but I'm pretty sure that more of you will remember or know my son, Adam Friedland. Adam and I sat in the front row of these services every year for about 10 years. That was my seat, and where Reese's sitting was Adam's. And one year, about 3 years ago rather, Adam sat in the aisle there right next to me in his wheelchair. Adam loved coming here. Over those years, so many people were very kind to approach me and tell me that Adam had such a big smile that you could see his cheeks even though you were sitting behind him. And 3 years ago, don't know where you are, but I hope you'll remember who you are and will remember saying this. Someone approached me right after services and told me that seeing Adam and I enjoy services as he did really made your whole holiday. I can't tell you what those kind words meant to me then and how much they still mean to me now. Adam, as I said, loved coming here. He loved the community feeling and he loved the music. In fact, Adam would clap along to the music of the prayers like he was at a concert, and that always made Cantor Berman smile. Sadly, Adam died unexpectedly in his sleep a little over 2 years ago. He was 13 years old, and it was only 5 months before he was to be bar mitzvahed, which was something that he had worked so hard on for so many years. Adam was the love of my life, and I have to say that day, the absolute worst day of my life, I was incredibly grateful that I had this temple, our rabbi, and our cantor. Rabbi Masnitsky spent hours with me that morning on the floor in Adam's room. She prayed with me, she arranged for and walked me through every horrible step that I would have to do along with my husband that day and in the coming days ahead. And this sanctuary, actually right there at the bottom of these steps, is the last place that I ever got to see and to kiss Adam. So, now thank goodness, I know I am a very extreme example of somebody needing this temple, and I sincerely hope that you will never need it in the same way that I, or my husband Ken, or my daughter Lucy have. But this experience has made me spend a lot of time over the last 2 years thinking deeply about why belonging to this temple is important to me. And moreover, why is it important to me to make sure that there is a Jewish community here in Warren and continues to be here? And I hope that my experience and what I've discovered from it can be a help to us all. So before Adam died, I think I thought about the value of belonging to Temple Har Shalom in much of the same way that some of you might also think about it. My thoughts about the value of the family belonging to the temple would come especially when it was time to send in our check and join for the coming year. And quite honestly, and this may sound familiar, the year after my daughter Lucy was bat mitzvahed, deciding to join again or not was definitely a serious consideration. So here's kind of how my thought process would usually go. I would think, honestly, I don't come to services very often. I would probably characterize myself as a twice-a-year Jew, just coming on the high holidays. Okay, maybe I was a twice-a-year Jew plus, I would come 3 or 4 times total. But honestly, is that worth the money to belong? However, This year, when I received my bill, I was surprised to see it presented in a way that really resonated with me, because it was much more similar to how I have thought about belonging to the temple over the last 2 years. This year, we did not receive a bill. Rather, we got a request to invest in this temple, a request to make a donation to invest in this temple community. So, is this temple a place that I or you want to invest in? For me, it is an easy yes, because I've seen firsthand the importance of and the benefit of belonging to this synagogue, the importance of our rabbi and our cantor, and the wonderful supportive community of people that we have here. Since Adam died, I've spent a lot of time thinking about how to put into words that articulate what makes this temple important to me. Why did I and do I choose to belong year after year? And again, frankly, is that worth the money? And here's what I realized. I equate being a member of the temple to having an insurance policy. You hope you never ever need car insurance or homeowner's insurance, or certainly life insurance. You certainly don't look forward to paying your premiums every year, but when you need it, you're really glad that someone answers the 800 number and sends you a check for your damages. So I think we can agree that nobody buys insurance thinking that they'll ever need it. It's insurance. And I really feel like belonging to this temple is a really good and necessary insurance policy, and more than worth the premiums. I'm very glad that our rabbi and cantor are here when I've needed them, but much more importantly, they are here when you need them. And way better than a typical insurance policy that you only use when things go wrong. This insurance policy is here when things go very, very right in your lives as well. When anything good happens to you, like when there's a baby born in your family, or when one of your children gets married, or when your child becomes a bar or bat mitzvah or gets confirmed, or when you just want to come to clear your mind and sit for an hour on a Friday night surrounded by the comforting, familiar, peaceful sounds of the service. So I think that leads me to the other important point that I've come to realize. It really doesn't matter to me if I or you ever physically come here. Because even if I don't want to come to Friday night services, I do want the building to be open for the one time that I do want to come, or if you want to come. And even if I don't participate in the community activities, I do want them to happen in case I do want to participate. And most importantly, when I needed Rabbi Matsnitsky to get me through these 2 horrible years, where some days she truly just encouraged me to get out of bed in the morning, she was there for me. And again, much more importantly, she's there for you too. It is important to have Temple Har Shalom here as a backdrop for the difficult parts of our life, like when Adam died, or unfortunately, if a parent of yours or another family member of yours dies. But way better, it's important to have it here for the truly happy, celebratory times in our lives that we are all very grateful to have to celebrate. Whether we use it enough or not, is it an investment worth making so the building is here, well cared for, and thriving whenever we want to use it? I've learned from my experience that this is an investment worth making, and I hope as you're spending time reflecting today, you will think about why you're sitting here. We all have different needs that are being met by belonging to Temple Har Shalom. You may not even be able to put the why into words right now, but deep in your heart, you know you are here today because you know that it's important to you to have a strong Jewish community and for you to participate in it. And these services offer you something you truly value. So please take a moment to try to define for yourselves exactly why you come here each year at this time. And my hope is that by bringing awareness to yourselves of why it's important to you, this will lead you to think about making a little bigger investment than you've already done by giving generously to the Kol Nidre appeal this year, to assure that Temple Har Shalom is here this year and in all the future years to come, when you need it, or better, when you just want it. So thank you for listening, and I wish everyone a very healthy New Year. Health is the only thing that's important, and Shana Tova.
So as Jill hugs her way, it's always an honor to be up on the bima for any service, but it's more an honor to have somebody like Jill as part of our community and share her story. And one of the things we discussed ahead of time was this year we did want to specifically hand out the Kol Nidre appeal envelopes in person as part of Jill's story and a part of how important this community is to her and to so many of us in there. So we're going to have some folks walk around. I see Reese has got a basket, and there's some others as well. So please do consider right away donating. For those that donated online, you are certainly welcome to give more. We can always use it. And again, we do thank you in advance, and we thank you for being part of our community. And Jill, thank you so much. Really quickly, Reese has asked me, just for those who are comfortable, there is a pencil inside. You're obviously free to write now, but only for those who are comfortable doing so.
Our tradition helps us to understand. Excuse me. I too am verklempt. But tradition does help us understand that words that come from the heart truly pierce the heart. And indeed, our hearts have been moved and touched today through Jill's story. And on behalf of all of us, we thank you. Stories which continue to inspire and touch our heart also come from tradition. And so we now turn to page 338. As we prepare to take the Torahs from the Ark, to recite the Avinu Malkeinu, and then make our way through the congregation with our Torahs, it is a pleasure to welcome to the Bima to open the Ark doors Mark and Rachel Rosenblatt, together with Stephen and Mindy Kay, and those who will carry Torah, Jason Levitz, Hugh Habis, and Jill Friedland. Page 338. Would you rise, please?
Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishachavu lehar kodsho. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romimu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romimu. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lehar kodsho.
We are on page 339.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'chanun, Erech Apayim, Rav Chesed v'emet, Notze Chesed la'alafim, Nose avun v'afesha, v'chata'a v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, Irachum v'chanun, Erech Apayim, Rav Chesed v'emet, Notze Chesed la'alafim, Nose avun v'afesha, v'chata'a v'nakeh.
Avinu Malkeinu chatanu lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu hahazirenu b'teshuvah shlema lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, bring us back to you in full repentance.
Avinu Malkeinu salach umachal lachol avonotenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, forgive and pardon all our misdeeds.
Avinu Malkeinu chamol aleinu va'al olaleinu v'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our children.
Avinu Malkeinu kale dever v'herev v'ra'av me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, make an end to sickness, war, and famine.
Avinu Malkeinu kadvenu b'sefer chayim tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us for blessing in the book of life.
Avinu Malkeinu chadesh aleinu shana tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the new year be a good year for us.
Avinu Malkeinu aseh imanu lama'an shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, help us to exalt your name in the world.
Avinu Malkeinu kabel berachamim uveratzon et tefilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu,
Avinu Malkeinu, Chaninu Vaninu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaninu Vaninu, Ki imanu asim, asimanu, Tzitaka v'chesed, asimanu, Tzitaka malkeinu, Chaninu Valinu, Avinu malkeinu, Chaninu Valinu, Ki imanu vasir. Kil mitzion titzei Torah, Kil mitzion titzei Torah, Udivar Adonai Mirushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Natan Torah, Torah, Le'avo Yisrael B'kedushato, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'norah Shemo. Lecha Adonai Agitula, Agifula, Vatiferet Ki chol v'shamayim u'va'aretz, Ki chol v'shamayim u'va'aretz. Lecha Adonai ha'olam la'ad, Lamid ha'asei lecha. Al shlosha devarim, Al shlosha devarim, Al shlosha devarim, Al shlosha
may all be seated. There are two significant Torah portions which are read on this Yom Kippur day. The first is known as Atem Nitzavim, and it comes from the book of Deuteronomy, the last book of the Torah. Deuteronomy is a Latin word which means to retell, the second telling. And indeed, it is Moses standing in the shores with the Israelites, knowing that he will not accompany them into the promised land, and therefore he has some final advice for them. This advice extends not only to those who were standing with him at the moment, but for all of us who make the choice to continue and perpetuate our Jewish faith and people. It is a reminder that we are all responsible one for the other. And no matter what generation is living, each is responsible for what happens to us as a people and a nation. Indeed, it is about collective responsibility. And that is why Yom Kippur is not commemorated in your home or in the solace of a forest or in the quiet of a room, but rather it's commemorated in community, amongst people, remembering that we never stand alone. Atem Nitzavim. You may follow along on page 342. Our first aliyah, one who will be chanting from Torah, is David Scharf, and those who will be blessing are Dari Ruderman, Sherry Habis, Rachel Mehta, and Stephen Scharf. Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher B'harvanu Mikol Ha'amin V'natan Lanu Et Torto. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem Rashechem shiftechem ziknechem v'shodrechem kol ish Yisrael tapchem nishechem v'gercha Asher b'kerev machanecha mechotev etzecha ad yoshev meimecha le'avrecha b'ivrit Adonai Elohecha uvalato Asher Adonai Elohecha koret imcha hayom.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayolam atah b'tocheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Asher Koach, everyone. Our second aliyot for those blessing the Torah are Andrew Losberg, together with Debbie and Larry Danielson.
your suit jacket. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Baruch Hu Adonai Habarach. Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Adonai Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Lima'an hakimotcha yom lo le'am. V'hu yelecha Elohim ka'asher diber lach, v'ka'asher nishba levotecha la'Avraham, liyitzchak ולيעקב ותהד להם לבדכם אנוכי קוראת את הברית הזאת ואת העלה הזאת כי את אשר ישנו עמנו עומד היום לפני אלוהינו ואת אשר איננו פה עמנו היום.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. To read our third Aliyah, it's a pleasure to welcome forward Andrea Perez, and to bless the Torah, we welcome forward Evan Perez and Mark Green.
Baruch Adonai Habarach.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
כי המצווה הזאת אשר אנוכי מצווך היום לא נתליתי ממך ולא ברכך היא לא בשמיים המה אמר הדוד בשמך ולבבך ששתו ולא מעבר לים היא לאמור מי יעבר לנו אל עבר הים ויקהך לנו וישמינו טוב ונעשנה כי קרוב עליך הדבר מאוד בפיך ובלבבך לעשותו.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach, everyone. For our fourth aliyot to bless the Torah, we welcome forward Leslie and Neil Heilberg, together with Ron and Caroline Laufer.
Okay, this is 3, right? No, 4. Okay. Yes, there. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to repeat or not. 1, 2, 3.
Baruch Adonai Habarach.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. ראינה נתתי לפניך היום את החיים ואת הטוב ואת המוות ואת הרע אשר אנוכי מצווך היום לאהוב את אדוני אלוהיך ללכת בדרכיו לשמור מצוותיו וחוקותיו ומשפטיו וחיית ורבית וברכך אדוני אלוהיך בארץ אשר אתה ושם על רשתה.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tachenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
For our fifth Aliyah to the Torah, we welcome forward Adam and Erica Berman, together with Eric and Melissa Katz.
Abby Cohen, I see you sitting out there in the congregation. You want to give it a second shot? No? Okay. This is her bat mitzvah like 2 weeks ago. I mean, she was amazing 2 weeks ago. She could do it again. It's okay. 1, 2, 3.
Baruch Hu es Adonai HaMbarach.
Baruch Adonai HaMbarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMbarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bacha banu mikol ha'amim, v'nosan lanu es toraso. Baruch Atah Adonai nosen haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. ואם יפנה לבבך ולא תשמע וידעך והשתחווית אלוהים אחרים ועבדתם, הגדתי לכם היום כי אבות תאבדון לא תאריכון ימים על האדמה אשר אתה עובר את הירדן לבוא שם לרשתה.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher nasan lanu Toras emes, v'chayei olam nota b'zochenu. Baruch atah Adonai nosen haTorah.
Amen.
Nice Ashkenazi Hebrew.
I know you love that.
It is always a joy when we can welcome forward those who are new to our community. They are divided amongst our two services. Some are more comfortable coming to the Bima than others, but it's important that we as a community welcome, and I am so proud to announce, our 16 new families. So what a pleasure it is. Michael and Kimberly Beckerman, Louis and Ann Beckerman, Larry and Susan Church, Chad and Sandy Goldstein, Jason and Stephanie Kirschheimer, Michael and Stephanie Lindy, Jamie and Craig Margolis, Rob and Stacy Merkin, Nancy and Stuart Margolis, Lindsay and David Shaw, Josh and Ali Sobin, Todd and Rachel Schneiderman, Richard and Rachel Schwartz. So if any of you are here within the congregation for this first service, it is our honor to call you forward and officially welcome you into the community. As we await their arrival, it is always traditional to pause to remember those who are on beds of illness and who may need some extra healing. So I would ask that if there is anyone praying on behalf of a loved one, a friend, someone in their community, please feel free to share their name now.
Hey guys, come on up, just make room. Let's gather around. Yeah, just scooch everybody in. Yeah. Let's make sure at least one person can see the
For
total.
all those who are known to us and unknown to us,
Can we see it?
and for those who are still in the midst of their suffering, we say, Baruch atah Adonai, Rofecha Holim. Blessed is God from where the source of healing flows, and if healing cannot be their ultimate gift, we pray they will have the courage to endure.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach, Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed, Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch Ata Adonai noten haTorah. I keep looking at Lindsay because probably the last time she did this was when she was a bat mitzvah with me up here on the bima, so it was a long time ago.
אמן, העידותי בכם היום. את השמיים ואת הארץ, החיים והמוות נתתי לפניך, הברכה והקללה, ובחרת בחיים למען תחיה תבזרך. לאהבו את אדוני אלוהיך, לשמוע בקולו ולדבקבו, כי הוא חייך ויורך ימיך לשבת על האדמה אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיך לאברהם, ליצחק וליעקב לתת להם. 1, 2, 3. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. Amen.
And together as a congregation we say,
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh.
And we are indeed grateful for this. It is your first or perhaps your multiple time in blessing Torah here on our Bima. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
You guys.
To lift and dress the Torah, it's an honor to call forward now Rachel and Josh Caliber, and I'd ask everyone to rise, please.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, ולפי אדוני ביד משה. Please be seated. Our Torah service continues with the chanting of the Haftarah. Our Haftarah this morning comes from the prophet Isaiah, and it will be chanted lovingly by mother and daughter by Natanya Levitz and Jessica Levitz.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nviei ha'emet v'tzedek. Kira v'garon al tachsoch kashofar harim kolecha v'haged le'ami pisham u'veit Yaakov chatotam ve'oti yom yom yidroshun v'da'at dracha yachpatsun kegoy asher tzedaka asa Umishpat Elohav lo azav. Yishaluni mishpatei sedek kirvat Elohim yachpatsun. Lamat samnu velo ra'ita ininu nafshinu velo teda. Hein beyom zomchem timseu chayfetz vechol hatzvechem tingosu. Hein larivu matzah tatsumu ulhakot be'egrof resha. Lo tatsumu chayom lehashmi'a b'marom kolchem. Hachazeh yeh tzom evcharehu yom anot adam nafsho halahoch ke'agmon rosho v'sak va'efer yatzia halazeh tikrat tzom ve'yom ratzon l'Adonai.
Halozet someb charehu pateach hartubot resha hader agudot mota vishalach ritutzim chavshim v'chol mota tinateku halo faros laraev lachmecha Vanim merudim tavivayit kitire arom v'chisito umibsarcha lo titalam azibaka kashachar orecha va'aruchatcha me'era titzmach v'halach lefanecha tzidkecha Kevod Adonai ya'asvecha, as tikrav Adonai ya'aneh, tishava v'yomar hineni, im tasir mitochecha mota, shelach etzba v'daber aven, v'tafek lara'ev nafshecha, V'nefesh na'ana tasbiya V'zarach b'choshech orecha V'afilatcha katzohorayim V'nachacha Adonai tamid V'hisbiya b'taktzachot nafshecha V'atzmotecha yachalit V'hayita kegan raveh uchmotza mayim asher lo yechazvu meimav uvanu mimcha charvot olam mostei dor vador tikomem v'kora lecha goder peretz Mishovev netivot lashavet Im tashiv mishabat raglecha Asod chafatzecha biyom kodshi V'karata lashabat Oneg likdosh Adonai mechubad V'chibadeto me'asot drachecha Mimsoch hefzecha v'daber davar Az titanag al Adonai V'hirkavticha al b'motei haaretz V'ha'achalticha nachalat Yaakov avicha ki pi Adonai di diber. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zor kol haolamim, tzadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'yoseh, ha'medaber u'mkayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek. Al haTorah v'al ha'avodah v'al hanviim v'al yom ha'kippurim hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu limchila v'lislicha u'chapara lechavod u'tifaret. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umvarchim otach yibarach shimcha befi kol chai tamid leolam va'ed udvarcha emet v'kayam la'ad baruch atah Adonai melech mochel v'soleach la'avonotenu v'la'avonot amo be'Yisrael uma'avir hashmotenu b'chol shana v'shana melech hakol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael v'yom ha'kippurim.
Amen.
Beautiful girl. Tanya and Jessica are truly living Lador Vador from generation to generation, and we are so very grateful and touched. Thank you very much. It is now time for us to return the Torah to the Ark, page 356. To open the Ark doors, we welcome forward Lisa and Clario Martins, together with Shelley Young and Russ Bergman. I'd ask you all to rise, please.
Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuvah Chodesh, Chodesh Yameinu Chodesh Yameinu
You may all be seated. In the days leading up to these Yamim Noraim, these 10 days of repentance, people often inquire of me, where do you get your material? Is there a website for rabbis to share topics? Is there a service from which to purchase your completed sermons? Can you trade off? And how often, Rabbi, do you really recycle? Well, the questions are truly as numerous as the potential topics. And as this is Yom Kippur, and I am compelled to tell the truth, the answer to all the above are yes. There are more than enough avenues to collect, gather, trade, and ultimately buy sermons. But for me, it is daily life that provides the hot topics and the emotional inspiration which compel my writing. A subject has to first pierce my heart and raise consciousness so that I can attempt to touch others. So I am always motivated to share with you that which concerns, disturbs, shakes, and deeply affects my own spirit. This High Holy Day season concludes my 35th year in the rabbinate and my 10th year as your spiritual leader. In reflecting on these milestones and my many years of sermonizing, I have come to realize that there is one subject above all others that is rarely ever confronted in an open and honest manner, but truly has the capacity to transform the living of every life. The issue is death. As someone who spends so much time around death and grieving, I am both perplexed and tremendously pained by the lack of knowledge and preparedness exhibited by those I serve. How is it that we know what to do when a new life enters this world, but most of us are baffled and confused when someone is going to die or has died? How is it that we prepare for significant life transitions, investing time and money, recognizing birth, b'nai mitzvah, graduations, and weddings, yet we actively avoid and fail to prepare for dying? And yet it is something that we will each do one day. I find it so hard to believe that we are able to expose our children to gruesome and gratuitous deaths portrayed in video games, television, social media, and film, but we are uncomfortable teaching them about death in age-appropriate ways from the time that they are very young. By trying to ignore the reality and keeping death discussions in the shadows, I believe that we are actually giving death more power than it deserves. When we bring death into the open, it can take its place as a natural part of the life cycle. It is my intention today to help us all start the difficult conversations that I hope will ultimately lessen our anxieties and better prepare us for the inevitable. For I am reminded regularly that conversations about death are among the most important and the most difficult we may ever have. It looms over us every day of our lives, and intellectually we know the possibility is there. We know that all that lives must die, and that death is a consequence of life. It is an unavoidable part of the life cycle. Everyone here is going to die, and everyone is going to grieve. We are supremely unified by these inevitabilities. Yet most of us do everything in our power to avoid accepting mortality. We are a death-phobic society. For centuries, death has been a cause of preoccupation and fear. For far too long, we have orphaned ourselves from nature and regarded death as an intruder rather than an experience of life. And the less something is openly discussed, the much scarier it's going to become. So we don't talk about death. We shy away from the subject because we fear it is too morbid, and such conversations will only serve to make people uncomfortable and may perhaps disturb everybody's good time. We're also a very superstitious people. We believe that such talk will tempt the Malach HaMavis, the angel of death, to seek us out. And so even family and friends who can dive into arguments about money and sex and politics will find themselves mute when confronted with the taboo end-of-life discussions. The question is why? The answer is because it takes guts. Guts to confront the vulnerable truth that there is no guarantee on the length of our days. So no matter our age, the premise of confronting death offers a powerful reflection on how we live life. Death and life are actually two sides of the same coin. Whenever we talk about death, we are talking about life. Now, you may never have realized it, but this is the profound message and meaning of Yom Kippur. This sacred day is traditionally understood as a rehearsal for our death. We began Kol Nidre with an open, empty ark, the word for which in Hebrew is aron, the modern word for casket, as if we are staring into an open casket, our own. We neither eat nor drink because the dead do neither. And it is traditional to always wear white, similar to a kittel, and similar to the shrouds in which we are buried. In short, all those things which make us alive, including personal pleasures and adornments, are put on hold to create a semi-death experience. On this day, we are to step out of our physical bodies as if we are gone. We are to recite vidui, the confessional prayers, uttered by those on their deathbeds. And we are to ask ourselves in the Unatana Tokef, who shall live and who shall die? So if we are fully to embrace the meaning of Yom Kippur, we spend just this one day reflecting on our mortality. And we are to be transformed by it. We are to look death in the eye and see towards its life-affirming conclusion. The outcome is to help us best appreciate that in preparing for death, we can more deeply learn to celebrate life. In short, Yom Kippur wants us to stop taking life for granted and live the way we want to be remembered. Even the Dalai Lama embraced this Jewish teaching. He is quoted as saying, "An analysis of our death is not for the sake of becoming fearful, but to better appreciate this lifetime." So one day a year, we are to imagine our deaths for two compelling reasons. First, we are to make the most of our allotted time. In Jewish teaching, we call this Heshbon HaNefesh, the accounting of the soul. We are to rehearse our death in order to choose life in greater alignment with our values. We are to take inventory of our actions. Are we prioritizing that which is really important? Are we spending our time and energy on the people and ideals that matter most? I want you to remember that clergy do not write eulogies. You each write your own with the actions of your life. The great philosopher Franz Kafka once wrote, "The meaning of life is that it ends." His statement is profoundly true, for death is a great teacher when it informs the living about what really matters. We are here today in order to spotlight our own prideful deeds that will one day be summarized on a headstone. And when you next walk through a cemetery, please note that the message comes down to a few chosen words: beloved husband, father, grandfather, cherished wife, mother, grandmother, sister, beloved son, daughter. There are no titles. There is no net worth. There are no awards won or grades earned. No calculations of the long hours spent at the office. Just a recounting of the true meaning of life, our relationships. The second compelling message of this day is to encourage us to engage in honest discussion, reflection, and planning of our own end-of-life wishes. Yom Kippur may be a rehearsal for our death, but how are we now to prepare for the inevitable moment, especially in a society that does not want to openly and discuss the topic? The truth is, how we want to die represents the most important and costly conversation that we Americans are not having. The statistics are staggering. Research suggests that 90% of individuals believe that talking to a loved one about their end-of-life wishes is important, but only 27% have ever broached the subject. 80% of Americans do not put their personal affairs in order before they die. The average funeral today costs between $12,000 and $15,000, and yet no more than 5% of Americans pre-plan the end of their life rituals. A vast majority of Americans say they want to die at home, but more than 75% die in a hospital or nursing home, with 20% of Americans spending their last days in the ICU unit. Medicare spent this year $55 billion on hospital and doctor bills to cover the last 2 months of a patient's life. Please keep in mind that that is more than the budget for the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Education combined. our hesitancy to have these conversations is quite understandable. Intellectually, we all know that life is finite. We even realize that sometimes death brings relief and peace to those we love. But emotionally, we want to perpetuate life at all costs. The tension between our head and our heart sends conflicting messages, and without the foundation of honest, open communication before a crisis, there is little to no guidance in comprehension and desired action. Please remember that none of us can assume someone else's needs or wants. The necessity to talk and learn what each family member thinks about the choices and why is most important. We cannot impose a right choice on others. There is a marked difference today in prolonging life as opposed to postponing death. Modern medicine, with its technology, machines, treatments, and medications, is capable of miraculous care and the extension of life. But medicine void of personal intervention and direction can be one of the most painfully delayed situations of the natural act of dying. Death is not an opponent in a battle to be won or lost. Rather, as the book of Ecclesiastes reminds us, there is a time to be born and a time to die, which allows death to be painless, brief, and dignified. If you can begin to talk about the end-of-life issues while a person is still healthy, I believe that you will have made a significant contribution to the well-being of your family, because you will come to understand the hopes and fears around illness and dying. For talk is the single most important thing family and friends can do to prepare for the end of life of someone they love. So there are 3 questions that each of us should be able to answer. What do we want? What are we worried about? And who will decide for me if I am not able to decide for myself? I can tell you from many learned experiences sitting by the beds of those who are dying that the end of life is always difficult, but it can also be amazingly rich and fulfilling. What matters most is to talk with the people you love about decisions near the end of life and to come to terms with the inevitable loss, and thus to honor the cycle of life. By breaking the silence, we can make decisions that are in keeping with our treasured values and beliefs. Now, I know that it takes courage, motivation, and opportunity to beginning these conversations, and starting is the most important part. So therefore, I hope that you will join me throughout this new year as I offer an education series on difficult but necessary conversations about death and dying in Jewish tradition. For I know that I would be terribly remiss in raising topics today that can cause such discomfort and distress without proposing an educational foundation of exploration and discussion. It is this day of Yom Kippur that urges us to accept that our days are numbered. Through our imagery and prayer, several important lessons have been impressed upon us. First, we have learned that we need not fear death, but rather we must embrace it in order us to affirm the gift of life. Second, we have been reminded that upon serious consideration of our own mortality, we can live life more fully and with greater purpose when we better treasure what we already have, because it will not be ours to keep. And lastly, Yom Kippur challenges us to change how our culture deals with death by joining in the conversation. Woody Allen once said, "I'm not afraid of dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens." I pray that in this new year, 5779, our fear of death will soon be overcome with our gratitude for the vast possibilities of life. Shana Tova.
Psalm 23. Adonai roi lo echsar binu sheyar b'tzeini al mi menuchot yenaleini. Nafshi yishover, yanchini b'maglei tzedek, yanchini b'maglei tzedek, leman shemo. God kelig bigit al mavet lo erora ki atai madi shifticha umnishantecha Ta'aruch lefanai, shulchan neged zorerai, dishanta v'Hashem en roshi kol siri vayam. Adonai roi lo echsar, Adonai roi lo
Shana Tova again. Make a couple of quick announcements and then I'll sit back down. First, for those of you who still have your Kol Nidre appeal envelopes and want to hand them in, you can either drop them off in baskets outside or find those of us that have been tagged and you can hand them to us. Doors will remain open for congregants who wish to remain at temple or return to temple after the 12:15 service. The sanctuary will remain open, offering individuals an opportunity for personal introspection and prayer. Our afternoon service, followed by Yitzkur and Nilah, begins at 3:30. We will conclude services with our traditional shofar chorus and Havdalah with glow sticks. Please mark your calendar for the following upcoming events. First, to continue to connect the temple community, we are asking congregants to submit a family photo to hang in our sukkah. It is an easy two-step process. First, find one on your phone. Second, email it to jordang@templeharshalom.org. That's jordang@templeharshalom.org. Please send your photo in by Friday, September 21st. Also, for those who still print photos, you are free to drop them off in the temple office. Apologies for this next one. On September 23rd, there will be a Sukkot barbecue in the parking lot. That will follow J-School classes, and it will be open to everyone beginning at 12 noon. Machon grades 7 through 12 opening evening is Wednesday, September 26th. Please check our website for updates and time schedules. In addition, there is still time to return your filled grocery bags. There are many who are hungry who need our help. Special events can be found each weekend throughout October. Sunday, October 14th at 9 a.m., we will have a breakfast program about the U.S. midterm elections and their impact on Israel. Friday, October 19th at 6:30 p.m. will be our first Shabbat and a movie evening. That's Shabbat and a movie. We're changing things up this year. Join us for a short service to be followed by showing of the classic, The Frisco Kid. Sunday, October 28th at 9 a.m. We'll be commemorating the 80th anniversary of Kristallnacht as we hear from our own Erwin Gans, a Kristallnacht and Holocaust survivor. We encourage you, please, come and listen to Erwin's powerful story. Finally, now I'll turn to the camera over here. For our fellow Jews in the Carolinas that we know are watching, thanks to one certain news reporter based in North Carolina, this Yom Kippur is a time of great stress and turmoil due to Hurricane Florence. The scale of flooding is extensive in both states, North and South Carolina. Many people are still evacuated from the coastal communities, and there's extensive risk of additional flooding, even though the storm has passed. It may be days before we know how many Jewish families and individuals have lost their homes. The Jewish Federation of North America has opened a 2018 Hurricane Relief Fund to provide assistance to those directly affected by the storm. After the holiday, please go to jewishfederations.org to lend your support. At this solemn and holy hour, let us reach out to those in need. Please go to the temple website for further details. And again, Shana Tova.
There is no official end to the morning service because the services go on all day long until the final shofar blast of Ne'ilah. But it would seem odd to send you all off without some kind of see you later song. So, Ein Keloheinu, page 225.
In Kelohinu, in Kadoninu, in Kemalkenu, in Kemoshinu, in Kelohinu, in Kadoninu, in Kemalkenu, in Kemoshinu. Nodel Elohinu, Nodel Adoninu, Nodel Malkenu, Nodel Moshinu, Baruch Elohinu, Baruch Adoninu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshinu. Atahu Elohinu, Atahu Adoninu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshinu.
Shana Tova. Shana Tova.
Ava. You guys, what was that?
I mean very well.